Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a new product from ColourPop. It's their Superstar Loose Pigment Eyeshadows. I'm going to give you a little bit of product info, and then I'm going to show you swatches of the shades that I picked up from the website, and I'm also going to do some shade comparisons to existing Super Shock shadows. That way you can get a feel for which shades might be best for you. And of course I'll also do a little tutorial showing you how I used one of these loose pigment shadows to get my eye look today. These can be a little intimidating, they can be a little bit tricky, and I'm going to show you the super easy way that I apply them. So hopefully my technique can help you use your loose pigment shadows as well. As of right now, there are 12 shades available in the Superstar shadows. These are priced at $5 each. This little pot does contain 2 grams of eyeshadow, which is just about the same amount as a Super Shock shadow. The Super Shocks say they're 2.1 grams, so pretty darn close there. The Superstar shadows come in this cute little purple box. I love the holographic logo on the front. The shadows come in a plain white pot with the silver ColourPop logo on top. There is a sticker on the bottom to indicate which shade it is, but there's no clear windows like there are on the top of the Super Shocks, so you do have to look at the sticker or open it to see what shade it is. The lids are a screw top, and there is a nice sifter inside. Size-wise, these are the same circumference as the Super Shock shadows, but they are just a little bit taller, so if you're thinking about how to store these, just keep those dimensions in mind. I ordered 3 shades. I got MULHOLLAND, CAMEO, and VERTIGO. MULHOLLAND is the shade I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I do want to point out that when I swatched these for my Instagram swatch pic, the shade VERTIGO, which is a red shade, did leave a pretty significant stain on my arm. I have yet to wear it on my eyes, but it's pretty common with red and bright pink eyeshadows that a little bit of stain gets left behind. So also keep that in mind if you're interested in the shade VERTIGO. You want to use a really good eye base with that one, and you also want to expect that you may get a little bit of staining in the eye area. I'm going to show you the swatches now, and I'm also going to compare these shades to some Super Shock shadows that I think are similar. I did this in my Luxe lipstick video, and a lot of you have said that it was really helpful and that you liked it, so it is something that I want to continue to do. I do hope this helps you choose your shades. Let's get to swatching. First up, we have the shade MULHOLLAND. Today I'm swatching it next to the Super Shock shadow in the shade KATHLEEN Lights. This is one of my favorite Super Shocks, and these two look really similar. Now this one was applied with a wet brush, that's why it looks a little bit more metallic. KATHLEEN Lights is just slightly more of a yellow gold, but these two are super similar, and if you, like me, love the KATHLEEN Lights Super Shock, then you will definitely love MULHOLLAND. Next we have the Superstar Loose Pigment Shadow in the shade CAMEO. I know that these two shades do not look too much like this one. I'm not dupe hunting here. What I'm saying is if you like these, you'll probably like this. This is the pigment in the shade Animal. It's a little bit more pinky coral, whereas CAMEO is more of an orangey coral, but it has that subtle gold shift to it, and it's a really intense, bright, in-your-face, beautiful color, just like CAMEO is. So if you like Animal, I'm sure that you'll like CAMEO. This over here is Flipper. Flipper is a really pale orange with a ton of shimmer in it. The reason I'm bringing these two up together is because the finish, the sheen on these is really similar. See how it's just packed with that glittery gold finish? I love to use Flipper as a topper. So if you like Flipper, if you like to put Flipper on top of other colors, then you're really gonna love the finish of this one in CAMEO. This is the last comparison I have for this video. This is the Superstar Loose Pigment Shadow in VERTIGO. These are 2 Super Shocks. This one's called Hot Toddy, and I know that this one is more of a pinkish red, but the intensity is still there. So if you're a Hot Toddy fan, you will probably be a VERTIGO fan as well. And this is the shade Fooling Around. These two are pretty similar. Fooling Around is a little bit more of a purplish red almost, whereas VERTIGO is very much a bright brick red. But I think the overall finish is really similar with these two. This is definitely a very bold color. And like I said, this one does leave a stain, as do these two Super Shocks. Just keep that in mind with VERTIGO. Now that you've seen the swatches and comparisons, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial using the shade MULHOLLAND. And I'm going to share my tips on how I use these loose pigment shadows, and I'll round up all my thoughts at the end. Priming my eyes is always my first step, and of course I'm using my beloved paint pot from MAC in the shade Painterly. Then I'm going to set that paint pot eye base using the shade Matter of Fact from the Give It To Me Straight palette, also from ColourPop. Next, I'm applying the shade Downright in my crease as a bit of a soft transition shade. And I'm also going to build up a little bit of depth on the outer part of my eye using the shade Frank. This is mostly going to be covered up by the pigment, but it is nice to have a little bit of a base. Then we can go back and add some more depth later. I'm also going to add my inner corner highlight shade now. I'm using the shade Up Front on a little detail brush just all around the tear duct area. And I'm also going to add a little bit of that transition shade Downright using a pencil brush across my lower lash line. Now it's time to work with the pigment. I'm taking the shade MULHOLLAND, just dispensing a little bit of that into the top of the sifter. Then I'll use my ColourPop small shader brush with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus. I'm going to dampen the brush, and then I'm just going to dip that dampened brush right into the pigment that's sitting on top of the sifter, and then tap it off gently. Once you have the pigment and Fix Plus mixture on your brush, you can start to apply to the eye. I like to start in the middle, and then using a tapping motion, I sort of pat and spread that pigment across the eyelid. As you can see, I like to use really gentle patting motions, and I really do take my time with placement because once this pigment is down, it's not very easy to change the placement. I try to keep my eyelids really flat while it dries, so I'll look down and I'll try not to open my eyes or move my eyelids around too much. Then I dip into some dry pigment and I just really gently put a super light coat of the dry pigment on top right before my lids are finished drying to lock in that pigment. Now I'm going to use the shade Truth Hurts, and I'm going to blend around the edges where I applied the pigment, just so that everything looks really cohesive and put together. I'm also going to deepen up the outer part of my eye again using the shade Frank. I'm just bringing a little bit more of that deeper shade onto the very outer part of my lid. And I'm also going to use that warm orange called Truth Hurts on the pencil brush and smudge that right along the lash line. Then I curled my lashes and added a little bit of my Physicians Formula Killer Curves mascara, and that's my finished look. I'm so happy with the intense metallic finish of this pigment, and this eye look is really fun, really bright, but still really wearable, and it was super easy to achieve. As you probably noticed from the swatches, some of these shades are more of a true metallic and some have quite glittery finishes. I really tend to prefer the true metallics, which is why I use the shade MULHOLLAND today. It's my favorite. I know it's probably the most basic, least exciting of the shades that I got, but this is the finish I prefer, and I think this is actually quite wearable for how intense this shadow is. Plus, I have an event to go to and I really don't want stained red eyelids, so that kind of put VERTIGO out of the running. I know that sometimes loose pigments can be intimidating or they just seem like too much of a hassle. I think that these are actually pretty easy to use, especially because the containers have such a good sifter on them. It makes it easy to take the closed container and just shake it side to side a little bit to dispense a little bit of product on top, and then I don't find it to be very messy or very difficult to use at all. The pigmentation is really incredible with these. I haven't tried to apply them dry. I'm never gonna use them that way, so I don't really see much point in that. I think they're a lot messier if you try to use them dry instead of applying with a damp brush. I experienced really minimal fallout when using these, and I always do my face makeup before my eye makeup, even when I'm working with a loose pigment. I'm just a creature of habit that way, and I just took a clean tapered brush and wiped away any of the fallout, and I didn't have any issues with it sticking or smearing. Overall, for $5, I think these are a great deal. My only gripe is I wish that the containers were clear so that you could see the color instead of having to take it out of the drawer and check and see which one you're grabbing. You really do need to store these standing upright so that you don't have all the pigment fall into the lid. So that's the only thing I would change. I wish that the containers were clear or had a clear window so that you could see which shade you were grabbing for. But overall, I like the sifter. I like the product inside. I do think there's a great variety of shades offered on the ColourPop website. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. Have you tried them out? Do they intrigue you? Do they intimidate you? Leave a comment and let us know. I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Oh my gosh, I know they're not dupes. Please, I'm not saying that they're dupes. Don't comment anything about dupes, please. Thank you. Because I'm about to like have the most stained red hand ever. That's after like scrubbing it. The swatch stains are real. Really real. Ooh, too close. Back up, please. Thank you. Really, really wonderful with the wait. Oh, mama. Have you guys noticed that I've been wearing my hair down more? What do you think? I got a Brazilian blowout. So this is just what my hair looks like blow dried now. Like I didn't straighten it, nothing. This is just what I have now. I have always had the biggest, frizziest, curliest, most textured hair ever. And it's kind of nice to have like more low maintenance hair. Maybe I'll even go a whole week of videos without having a bun. What could it be? We'll see. I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but could happen. I mean, look how pretty this looks. It's not even creasing or anything. Looks so good. Are you impressed? Super shock shadow. I always say super shock. They should just change the name to that so that I don't have to struggle anymore. Okay, look how freaking long my hair is when it's so straight. I love my hairstylist. Her name's Athena. Sorry, she's not accepting new clients right now, but if she was, I would tell you to go to her because I love her so much. Zoom in. Oh, that's out. Hello, it is time for my close-up. Such a weirdo. Whatever.